Hi guys, and welcome back to another interview in A Girl Talks Formula One. Today I have a mega special guest, someone I've been wanting to interview for a while. McLaren's Abu Dhabi Grand Prix livery designer, Maria Aoun. You may see her all around Instagram with her original design. Also known as Tangles, she has a most unique and aesthetic Instagram, automatically thinking of her when we see any one of her designs. Art director, graphic designer, and now Formula One livery designer as well, Maria Aoun is only getting started. Ready to get to know all about her experience working for Formula One? Don't miss this interview in 3, 2, 1, let's go. Hi everyone, and welcome back to another interview of A Girl Talks Formula One. With you, Manena, and I am so sure you're going to be so excited about today's guest because she's actually designed a livery for McLaren in Formula One. With us, we have here Anna. How are you, Anna? And welcome to the podcast.
I'm great. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited we can finally chat. We've been trying to do this for for a while, and there's always something.
I know, finally.
Thanks for having me.
I'm so excited to have you here because you're the first livery designer in our podcast.
Oh,
I
that's
know,
awesome.
so
Thank
exciting.
you.
And what we like to do here in A Girl Talks Formula One is basically give a little bit of perspectives of all the jobs that you can have in motorsports, that you don't just have to be a driver or an engineer to work in Formula One or another category. So tell us a little bit about you and how did this opportunity come into your life? Because you're a designer, obviously, but were you into motorsports before you started designing the livery for Abu Dhabi in McLaren, or did they approach you? Did you become part of a contest? Tell us all about it.
Of course. So, initially, just to give you a bit of a background, I'm actually an art director. So, I've worked in advertising for about 5 years and then been freelancing as an art director slash graphic designer for the last, I think, 12 years now. Yeah. And just a couple of years ago, I started exploring illustration again, which is something I used to do just like kind of as a hobby, and it kind of like really picked up just because I had a lot of time to start drawing again, because obviously with the pandemic I think we all kind of swerved whatever we were doing. We started exploring different things because work dynamics and the environment around the world kind of changed. So I got into illustration, and then the black and white illustration wasn't something new for me. It's always something that I've done. It's organic, kind of like you can see some of the stuff behind me here. I've always kind of doodled these strange tangles,
And you're
like
so good.
as a hobby. And then that picked up on a social media page I had kind of put out there for fun. And then through that page, I actually met a lot of artists within the community here in the UAE. One of my very good friends today, Rabab Tantawi, she's actually the first livery designer for the Driven by Change. She did the Abu Dhabi GP 2021.
Yeah,
we became really close, and we kind of worked together, we collaborated together, and she became a bit of a mentor for me throughout in the last couple of years. And we actually connected, funnily enough, because her son is a motocross racer, and my husband is as well. And so we ended up, we it turns out we were sort of connected in a strange way in that community, through that community. So there was a lot of like things in common between us, which was really awesome, and we hit it off. And actually, it was thanks to her. She was so she did the 21 the GP 2021 livery for the Driven by Change campaign, and then the year after they consulted with her on who else within the community, women, obviously, like women, being a woman, having a woman as part of, to be a designer for that was a big thing for
the whole Driven by Change, right?
Yeah, and it was about empowering women, underrepresented artists, to kind of have a platform to show off their work and be on a stage like no other. One of the, I guess, the fastest stages, I must say. So that's how it was, kind of through her. And obviously, I got vetted through the team, the kind of work I was doing, if it's something that could work for a livery. Since livery design is a little bit tricky. Also, there needed to be some understanding from my side as well, that this is a campaign at the end of the day. And this for me was not something that was, unfamiliar. It was something I've worked on marketing campaigns, huge advertising campaigns globally. So I understand what it takes, or what happens behind the scenes before launching a campaign like this. Creating a narrative, the message, the process of things. Things don't just happen. Oh, you design it and put it out there. The messaging is very important. The timing is very important on how things are launched. Production as well was a big thing, and this is something that was, again, not very unfamiliar to me. It's something that I've had some experience with, from my past work experience as an art director.
Right, which is great because it made it a little bit not easier, let's say, but a little bit more simple for you to precisely understand the whole process, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Like from the start to finish, even like creating the content itself that took place leading up to the race day. Those were things that I understood relatively quickly, and kind of got into that flow. Yeah, so it was, again, I'm feeling super nostalgic today. I was just,
Of course.
I've actually, because now they've just launched the Whatever It Takes campaign. If you've seen it, I'm sure on Instagram, they released the new car livery just now.
I know, literally, while we're filming this, they just launched
And
it.
absolutely. And I just received, I actually just received my little miniature.
That's so
Literally
cute.
like a couple of hours ago. I had to get it off eBay, but I was like, oh, and I'm feeling like, and I added it to my little collection of things, and then we're having this conversation today. So
I know,
yeah,
they couldn't
pretty
have
nice.
been better.
Full circle.
So precisely talking about the livery design and McLaren's liveries and all of that, our previous guest, which helps Williams Esports design some of their posters for their
Mhm.
campaigns or media marketing, etc., has a question for you.
Whenever you're designing for the McLaren livery, do you come up with the design completely, or do they offer some ground rules, some ideas for you to build off of, or do they give you free reign?
Okay, so the design process was actually the easier part from producing the livery itself. I was given a lot of freedom in terms of the style. So I wasn't restricted, it was fully use your lines, fill up the space. The restrictions were basically, there was a blueprint of where the design would go, and how the vinyl would be, stuck onto the car, obviously, because, the car changes, the design of the car, the shape changes entirely. And every time there's a minor change, we'd have to kind of go back to the lines and draw it. But I was given full freedom into how to create those lines, with very few restrictions onto where things would be kind of cut off. I can actually show you if you're.
That would be great, but you do have to choose a certain palette of colors, right?
Yes. So when it came to colors, of course, the black lines were something that, I could do, and they're my signature style. And then what we did is we had to incorporate the colors that worked for both, for the driven by change, which were the hues of blue and the papaya orange, which was, like vital to have there. And there needed to be kind of a balance between both. So what we did is we incorporated both. That was something that they had requested. Of course, it worked for me. For me, it was filling in the colors that worked, and anything works with black. So I didn't have issues with doing that. The tricky part is every time they did produce the vinyl itself, they had to test it for the aerodynamics, because of course everything that is put on the car, even the stickers, any tiny sticker that is added is calculated as weight for the car. And that's something that we had to kind of keep in mind. This was something new for me in terms of, producing for a car that needs to go at speeds that, are really, really high. Measuring the vinyl, actually measuring the ink that is printed on the vinyl is counted. So how much black ink and how much of the blue and of the papaya. The papaya itself is an actual, they have that already. Printing the vinyl and pasting it and getting it tested
Right.
with
Because it can also
aerodynamics
add weight in a way.
was a big thing, yes. So we would come back and need to adjust a few things to reduce, the amount of black, from certain parts, to obviously to meet the criteria and get it, approved for by the aerodynamics team that we're testing it. So that was that obviously like had certain restrictions, but thankfully it didn't have to change. The design didn't have to change. It was very small tweaks that we had to do. But other than that, it was pretty easy. It's funny because I actually drew it. I hand drew it before we actually had it done digitally.
That's
And it was
exciting.
so this is the actual like hand drawing of
I know,
one of
it's
the slides.
amazing.
And then we filled it up and stuff. And there's a few tweaks, but this was the initial one. And we went through a few rounds of creating, different ones to see how they would kind of pop on the car with the help of 3D artists like David Idris, who implements it onto the final car render. So yeah, it was really a great experience, even as an artist, but as the graphic designer as well, to try this out. Yeah, a different form of packaging, I guess.
Yeah, 100%. And to add that to your resume, because that's definitely something that not even 0.5% of the world can say that they do as artists or graphic designers. I mean, it's such a surreal yet unique experience, especially for everybody that's related to motorsports in a way. I mean,
Absolutely.
motocross is motorsports in the end. So, did you ever dream or think that this opportunity would ever come for you?
I honestly, I didn't believe it in the beginning. When
Right.
they reached out to me, they had sent me a message on Instagram, and then it would go into my requests. Someone had reached out, and then Rabab reached out. She's like, Anna, someone's trying to message you. I said, what? She's like, yeah, Formula One. I'm like,
That's so
what?
funny. So the message came from the actual Formula One Instagram?
No, it wasn't Formula
Oh,
One
somebody
Instagram.
else,
It was,
somebody
it
else,
was
somebody else.
from a representative that works for the
Right.
different bike teams that kind of connected me. I was like, what? Are you serious? So it was really surreal. And I think so that was like earlier in the summer. And then I actually got to see the car with the livery. I think it was around mid-October or something, even after. And when I actually saw it live, I knew it when it went through, it's approved and all that kind of, it's happening. But then once I actually saw the car, I was a bit like, oh my God, this is really happening. Like
Surreal.
it was surreal. Like, oh my God, my heart was like, I was so nervous. It was so strange. And then seeing it again on the track, that was like, not the show car, but the actual car, the actual
Right.
cars, that were going out, just seeing it in the garage and like getting out of the, under the paddock. I was in the paddock, but I got to visit the garage and all that. And when
Yeah,
it took
'cause
off,
you get invited to the race, right? Or
yes, and that was, I think, maybe the bigger highlight. So I got to experience, the paddock experience and downstairs, and I got to meet everyone. And it's just so impressive. I really got like the full lesson of what it takes. We've all watched, what's it called, Drive to Survive, right?
Right.
So everybody now has a bit of an understanding of what goes on behind the scenes, or how many people are involved, the logistics, like everything that takes part, like for this race to happen, which is crazy. So I got like front row seats to seeing all that, which was just phenomenal. So I have a huge like newfound respect to Formula One teams as a whole,
100%.
and what takes place, and the work. Oh my God, the engineer, everybody, like it's just it's definitely a different experience to see it there, and seeing that car and everyone
100%.
taking care of that car before it went on the track. It's like, oh my God, wow. This is
I know, because it's precisely that. I mean, us as spectators, we just see the race. Or
exactly.
especially if it's on TV, you have no idea about what's happening behind the scenes to make that race or that
To make
Grand
that
Prix.
happen, and it's
Yeah,
just for that that
possible.
weekend. And also, since we're talking about women empowerment, I think it's very important that I mention this, because this is one thing that I had no idea how many women work in the industry behind the scenes. I think it's we kind of stereotype it at first, especially when you're you watch the sport on TV, like, oh, it's it's all run by men. actually, yes, okay, they're, you know, great engineers that are men. You also have women engineers and technicians,
I
and, you
know.
know, and everyone from the communications team, from, it's just, it's incredible. It's incredible. You know, the women that run the data, the research, like, it's just phenomenal. And it was like, oh,
100%.
wow.
I
Like,
mean,
that's just,
precisely. We have strategists in Red Bull, like female strategists in Red Bull and Aston Martin.
yeah,
And exactly what you said. And then in the end, like, yes, on TV, we only see the male engineers, but because genetically and biologically, it's
for sure.
obvious that a
Yes.
man will be much more likely able to carry a tire than a woman,
Mhm.
obviously. But
Mhm.
precisely everything that's not filmed, you know, that's behind the scenes, and you used the perfect word. It's so empowering, and we do
Yeah.
definitely see many more women day by day in the sport. So
Absolutely. I mean,
for
especially this year, right? Like,
yeah,
I feel there's
it's
been
been
such a
exciting.
big shift, you know, in the last year, with the F1 Academy, and it's just, I don't know. There's been so many more women present, you know, on track, off track. I mean, it wasn't the case 10 years ago, right? Like, and it's been so nice to see that now, following, you know, my re-intro into
Right.
F1. I mean, I remember F1 when I was young on TV, you know, from
Yeah.
cousins, you know, family members, huge fans and stuff. But then, you know, over the years, that kind of, like, you know, it was just like, it's on TV, but you don't really know, like, everything that kind of goes on.
Right.
But we didn't see so many women out there, you know, and now you have
It was just
so
the girlfriends.
absolutely, absolutely. I mean, look at your page. You know,
Right.
and how many women fans do you have listening to you
I know
and who are
it's
interested
so
and are,
inspiring.
it's amazing. It's amazing. So yeah, that's
It
been
is. It builds a huge community that
yeah.
there's, and without, you know, mentioning any types of jobs or whatever, there's so many areas in life that women compete against each other. And
Mm-hmm.
when it comes to motorsports, I feel that women
Feel there.
empower each other. It's like nobody really gets jealous of anybody. They just try to help you move forward.
Push
And
each other to,
yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
it's
It's really
pretty cool.
inspiring, and it feels like so supportive. So before we move into Formula One Academy, because I would like to talk a little bit about that, you know, it's like the newest category and it's so exciting. For our ladies, did you
Yeah.
meet Daniel Ricciardo and Lando Norris?
Yes,
What
I
was it like?
did. I did. I got to meet Daniel Ricciardo. It was his last race with
Right, with
McLaren.
McLaren.
Such a cool guy, so chill, and, you know, he was. I mean, he really liked the livery, which was really awesome. Lando, I got to say hi to him, like, really quickly. I bumped into him a few times at the hotel. We were all
Oh,
saying
that's funny.
he's really tall. I know. I mean, he's really. I, you know, because you see everyone on TV, and then when you see them live, they're a lot different, and then they're
Yeah,
also
I
very
know.
slim, you know, because they need to fit in that little seat of theirs.
Yeah, you
um
think they'd be so much shorter, right?
yeah. But really nice. I mean, they were awesome. It was really cool meeting them, to be honest, in person. Obviously, I was a bit, like, starstruck, and you know, I got to get their autographs, and I'm a huge fan of Norris. You know,
He's
and I
great.
root for him. I love collecting, like, the little what's it called, merch that they have out, you know, his bucket hats and all that.
It's so funny.
But yeah,
And
I'm a huge fan
he's got
of
great
Norris.
aesthetic on his
Yeah. I
Moderant,
really
like,
think it's his
brand.
year. I really think it's his year. I feel it.
Yeah,
I
definitely. Everybody's saying that he's gonna have his
yeah,
first victory, and I think we
yeah.
all feel it, and we're all gonna
I think so.
manifest it
Let's see.
together. It's gonna happen.
The countdown is on.
I know. And now that you designed a livery for Formula One, would you like to get more invested into this and probably design a livery for another category? Or was it just like a check on your bucket list of life and
um,
ready to move on?
no, I'm not ready to move on. I'd love another opportunity to get into to use at least, like, the my style of art
Yeah, because it's so
with
unique. Like when we
someone
look at
local.
your style, it really
Yeah.
makes a reference to you.
Yeah, I'd love to see it. I mean, I got to see it on a really fast car, which is awesome. I'd love to see it animated. I'd love to see it across music. I'd love to see it, you know, in the sky. I don't know. I have
That's awesome.
so many ideas, but I'd love to incorporate it within somewhere within my community here in the UAE. We have honestly, we have so many things that are going on here in this country, and the opportunities here is just phenomenal. We have a lot of eyes on the UAE right now, which is pretty cool. So, yeah, so I feel very proud that I got to do this for a race that happened in a city where I live, where I grew up. I'm Lebanese, but I grew up here. So yeah, the UAE is my home, you know, it's where I grew up. I feel very, very connected to it. So I'd love to get in on, you know, on something that is happening here in sports. Yes, absolutely. Like in a heartbeat, like, you know, if the opportunity presents itself, I'm definitely open to it.
Amazing. I would love to see your design on a vinyl as well. I feel it would just suit the cover or the vinyl so well. It's so unique. I really love what you design.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
So now there's a lot of teams getting involved in Formula One Academy. And I know this question might be a little bit difficult to answer, but where do you see Formula One Academy going in the future? Do you think one of the women there can actually join Formula One?
I think so. 15 years ago, or like maybe when I was young, like I don't think it was ever like, oh, you know, you'll see a woman in an F1 car. But now, I mean, here in the UAE, we have amazing drivers. We have Amna Al-Khubaisi and her sister Hamna Al-Khubaisi. A huge fan of you know, I've been following them before they even got into the academy. You know, to see someone like that get into that, you know, that world stage, one of these women is definitely going to make it, if not in the next coming few years, maybe the next generation, maybe in 10 years, it will be normal to have women and men on the same track. Definitely the men or you know, men in general have had more experience on these tracks. You know, they've had a lot of backing, also a lot of encouragement, a lot of sponsors, a lot of that. And then, you know, look at where they are at now. But if there's that same kind of backing for women on these tracks, you know, who knows? I think it will be a lot sooner than we think, that we'll be able to see women and men on the track together. I think it's possible.
It would be exciting, and it would be like the highlight of the century. And this season, there seems to be a lot of competitive teams in Formula One. I mean, the season hasn't even started, but we see a lot of upgrades on Aston Martin, Ferrari, Red Bull, of course, Mercedes, but even McLaren. I think those 5 teams could be fighting for podiums pretty much throughout the whole season. I mean, what is your craziest prediction that you have for the 2024 season in Formula One?
Lando Norris, world champion.
Right, a victory. And lots of Oscar Piastri podiums as well, because he got a podium on his rookie season. I mean, he's definitely a future world champion.
Absolutely. I mean, I think it was such a nice surprise for him as a rookie to have gotten the podium. Like, how crazy is that? So I think honestly, I really think this year it's going to be very interesting to see how McLaren is going to stand next to Red Bull, especially. Like, you know.
I know. I mean, who knows? They could even give us a surprise of being second in the Constructors' Championship, or even first. Who knows, right?
I think so. I have a good feeling about it. So let's see. We'll chat in a year.
Yeah, right. The update. I am so excited about this season. And if you could give any advice to anybody that wants to get started in motorsports, what would it be?
Networking. I think, you know, sometimes some people fall into the right place at the right time and make acquaintances that just kind of flourish in ways. I think, well, with the way it happened with us, at least, what was nice is already it's a very small community. You know, like the underrepresented artists, we're not a huge community, and we all know each other, and we all push each other, and we all support one another. We always vouch for one another, which is amazing. So I think if there's any artist that wants to get into motorsports with their art, I think first and foremost they need to put themselves out there, into spaces where motorsport is. whether it's at events, whether it's through social media, whether it's pitching, pitching for collaborations. I mean, if you're putting your foot through the door through 20 doors, you're bound to get through one, I think. And it's just about finding the right place, the right person, the right event, and also doing, I guess, the research of what's coming. Especially if someone, from my experience, it was honestly a great surprise that I got into the motorsport. But I've met a lot of people that have worked in motorsports, a lot of artists, graphic designers, especially, that worked with motorsport industry, whether it's like helmet designers, like Mark Anta design, for example. Like he's done beautiful work. And the way he basically, him, like many, used their social media platform to present work with different brands, and then somebody picks it up, and then someone reaches out, and then it can turn into something. It can turn into collaboration. But it's about doing the work, pitching, and doing the research, what's coming, and proposing things. Eventually, you're going to connect with someone that will get you to something like this.
No, and it's such real advice. I mean, you just said it, acquaintances, putting yourself out there and waiting for the right time, but putting in the work, right? Not being like,
Absolutely.
okay, so I'm not going to do anything and whomever
Absolutely.
comes into my life comes. No, like
Yeah.
being persistent and trusting that the right person will come at the right time, as long as you're
Absolutely.
putting in the work. Yeah.
And having the platform that presents you the way you are.
Of
So if
course.
it wasn't, when I said I got the message from the Driven by Change representative to look at my work, they had already seen my work before reaching out to me. They had already looked through my page. They've looked at the collaborations I have had, the videos that made it, that didn't. I had a lot of content put out there that weren't, it wasn't big. I didn't work with a lot of brands. I didn't, I had very little things, but I did a lot of proposals using brand work that were picked up. And then because of those, they said, oh, okay, this has potential. Like, you know what I mean? This can turn into something. So yeah, I think that's like so important to try. Again, like put your foot through the door, at least with many brands, and then something will pick up.
100%. It's such an inspiring yet real yet hard but simple advice that everybody can follow. And yeah, it's so nice. So where can people follow you on social media?
So I have a Instagram handle. It's Anna.Tangles. And I also have a website, annatangles.com. I also have a little YouTube channel. I just put like little shorts and little tutorials and things like that. But I'm mostly active on Instagram, and I'm usually my inbox is open. I always chat with anyone. I'm very happy to chat and help, and
Yeah, you're super kind.
And you as well.
Thank you. So I'm running to all of your other social media that I did not know you had, so that I can run to follow you as well. And I mean, I want to thank you so much for coming to the podcast, and I'm sure you're going to inspire so many people with your story, because what you have achieved is pretty remarkable. We wish you all the best of success in the future years.
Thank you. I really appreciate I appreciate you reaching out, and I know this, but we were supposed to do this a while back. I'm so glad you reached out, and then we got this, and honestly, it was such a pleasure chatting with you, really. And I can't wait to catch up, in a few races from now.
I know, to see how my
are
going. Yeah, 100%. And thank you all so much for coming all the way to the end of the interview. See you again on another episode of A Girl Talks Formula One. Bye.
Bye.